Yorker put out a piece this week that says that we should expect, if not welcome, the death of the quote-unquote global conversation. Stories of the takeover of X and the decline in usership that's been occurring over there, threads, and how that has basically collapsed in a short amount of time. And I have been in social media since the beginning of
when it was fun.
Time. Yeah, back when it was fun.
When people were cool.
When the global conversation was like 100 people. Let's talk about social media for a bit, especially before you have to roll off. So we've got a few social media stories. One, so we're working on a new mini doc. The one that we just finished like shooting and editing on is going to be rolling out soon. I'm not sure, Sohail, when we're actually going to be putting that out.
I would look for that next week.
You're muted. We're not hearing
Can't hear you, buddy.
Oh. Well, they can hear me. I'd look for that next week.
Still can't hear you. But when we put that out, we'll be probably announcing it next week on the show. But the one we're working on a couple after this, and one that Jen is interested in doing is talking about basically what may be the death of the large scale global conversation platform, Facebook, Twitter, that size. And actually, as we've been talking about it for the last few weeks here, New Yorker put out a piece this week that says that we should expect, if not welcome, the death of the quote-unquote global conversation. And it's kind of like a retrospective of the last month or so of stories of the takeover of X and the decline in usership that's been occurring over there. The meta response with threads and how that has basically collapsed in a short amount of time. And, I don't know. We've been talking about this for weeks, so I figured that might be something we could maybe talk a little bit about here. What your thoughts are. Do you believe? I mean, you and I have been in social media since the beginning of
when it was fun.
Time. Yeah, back when it was fun.
When people were cool.
When the global conversation was like 100 people.
Before the hoi polloi started showing up and talking about stuff.
So I specifically was
had 4 videos.
Looking for your thoughts. Yeah, it was like we had a viral video a year.
Everybody knew every video that came out because there were not that many.
And we liked it better that way.
Yeah. These elderberries.
So
meanwhile we're doing this. Thanks. Just pointing it out.
Right.
Well, social was so good when we started because it was that first of all we called social. We called it new media. The birth of blogs that people would write about things they were interested in, and you met these great folks, and it was that we all talked about how it's the change from the one to many to many to many conversation. And that worked until we realized how many voices out there probably shouldn't be, and we're just needing validation, and we're bored, and it just really we got overwhelmed. It was the tragedy of the commons that happened so fast. I'm not sure we need a global conversation. Maybe small groups. I mean, that's what I've started doing is pushing back into smaller and smaller groups. We had not a fight about this, but an argument about this when I launched that company. You were like, why don't you want to have leads and build an audience? And I'm like, I don't want anybody calling me. I know everybody I need to call, which seems foolish because have a big audience, you can do something with it. But I feel like it just sucks your energy away. And I got rid of social years ago because of that. I didn't want them inside my head anymore.
Well, that's also like the stage of your career that you're at right now, right? Because when you first start, when you have something that is, whether it's disruptive technology or you're just starting out, you want all the leads you can, right? You want to ride that wave. But once you get to a certain establishment, once you get to a certain place in your career, it becomes less about trying to prospect for new business because, for me, for example, whether somebody has $1,000 or $1 million, it's still the same amount of work for a different size client, right? Everybody still needs to fill out the account opening paperwork. Everyone still needs to get a portfolio review, but the amount of money that you're going to make off of that, it varies substantially based on, the size of the client you're working with. And when you're just starting out, you never know who's going to turn into what. They may be snowballing you, but as you have a more mature book or a more mature practice, the Lehman rule, even though it shouldn't be called that anymore, I guess, but the Lehman rule, the 80-20 rule, 20% of your clients account for 80% of your revenue and your income.
The Pareto principle.
Yeah.
So math blinded.
Yeah. So in many cases, I think that's one part of it. But the other part of social media that I think is fascinating is, and I saw this really early on by a girl that I was dating at the time, and she was just addicted to like Twitter and Instagram, and she would show me the funniest stuff, and I was like, why don't you should do this for a living? It's like, why don't you?
Exactly.
Why don't you? Represent my clients and don't answer doctor questions, but like, hey, when are you guys open? What are you doing? How are you doing this? Like, look at some of the different things. And that did push. That was the new advertising, and it didn't cost as much as hiring an actual PR firm. It didn't, and people want to do this stuff. I can assure you that, you could get some major celebrity and they wouldn't be on this roundtable with us, but we want to do it because we find things that are relevant to us that we can all agree on, and it's fun, and it doesn't cost near the same amount as it would to get a Survivor man out there. Look, and just to further that point, not that it's on the same realm, but take a look at the baking shows that are on right now. Remember, it used to be there were celebrity chefs on every show, right? Bobby Flay. How much did it cost to have him on the Food Network for one episode?
Right.
But now you take a look at some of these other shows where they've got people like us that are actually cooking and either winning or losing.
Right.
And they're, for a whole season, they may make $25,000 and they're thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching The Merge. We've got a ton more stuff for you to watch on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, everywhere. Check us out.